Hi, second grade. Now that we've completed our first day of our ReadWorks articles, I want to go through and show you how you can use some of the strategies that we've been learning in class to help you as you're figuring out the best answer to choose for your multiple choice questions. So I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can follow along on my computer as I use the strategies. Okay, so this is my article, the article you guys answered yesterday. But before I start reading it, I'm gonna think about my strategies that I know from second grade that I can use to help me answer the questions. So you guys have seen this anchor chart in class. I took a picture of it so that we can use it on our work today. So there's four main things that we talk about when we're answering multiple choice questions. The first thing we want to do is make sure that after we read our text that we understand what we read. In class, we did this with chunking the text, but since this is on the computer, we're just going to read our article and then we're going to make sure that when we're done reading that we understand what we read. The next thing that we're going to do when we get into the questions is we're going to think about what is the question asking me. In class, we do this with circling keywords, and we can't circle on the computer, but when we're done reading the question, we can think about, okay, what is the question trying to get me to do? The next strategy is cover and think. I can do this one on the computer easily. I'm gonna just take my hand and I'm gonna cover the answers and think about what the answer is before I even read the answers just from reading the question. And then the last thing I do is process of elimination. This is really important because I want to make sure that I've read all of the questions before I start trying to answer them. In class, we put an X at the end of an answer that we know is not correct. We can't do that on the computer, but we can think in our head about, okay, this answer I know is not right, and this answer is a maybe to help us organize our thinking in our brain. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the top. I'm going to read the article and I'm going to think about what's the big idea? What is the author trying to teach me? What is the gist of this article before I even look at the questions? So let's go back to the article, A Day to Celebrate Earth. Each year, Earth Day is celebrated in April. On Earth Day, millions of people will think of ways to stop pollution. They will talk about recycling and planting trees. People will look for ways to save energy and water. Lend Earth a helping hand. People have been celebrating Earth Day since 1970. Earth Day was started by a man named Gaylord Nelson. Nelson was a United States Senator from Wisconsin. He was worried about the damage being done to the planet. To celebrate Earth Day, people get together once a year to think about ways to protect Earth. But many people think that every day should be Earth Day. They say people should always work to stop and clean up the land and water. Here are a few ways that you can help make every day Earth Day. Don't be a litter bug. Don't litter. Be a good example for other kids. If you see litter, pick it up and put it in trash or recycling bins. Recycle. Cans, bottles, and newspapers can be recycled. This means these objects are put through a special process so they can be used again. Start a can recycling program at your school. Use the money you earn from returning the cans to buy new playground equipment or to save an Earth Day party, or to have an Earth Day party. Save a tree, plant a tree. Paper is made from trees. You can save a tree by not wasting paper. Use both sides. Celebrate National Arbor Day by planting a tree. This holiday encourages people to plant and care for trees. Don't waste water. You can easily conserve or save water. Turn the faucet off while brushing your teeth and washing your face. Save energy. Save electricity by turning off the lights when you leave a room. Do not leave a radio or TV on if you aren't using it. So I'm going to go back to thinking about what the gist of this article is. Well, I can read back over the subheadings to help me think. So I know the title was A Day to Celebrate Earth. So this article definitely had a lot to do with Earth. The subheadings talk about lending Earth a helping hand, don't be a litter bug, recycle, save a tree, plant a tree, don't waste water, save energy. When I read back over those headings and when I think about the whole article that I just read, I know that this article is mostly about how to take care of our Earth. So now that I've thought about what the big idea in the article is, I can go to the questions and start trying to answer them. So I'm going to click on questions. Now, this one isn't selected. I selected it earlier, but we're still going to read through and see if we can find the best answer. So the first question says, someone would read this passage too. So I'm going to use my first strategy, and I'm going to think about, what is the question asking me? Well, it's asking me, why would someone read this article? What would they learn from this article? So I'm going to read through. Before I read through the answers, I'm going to cover it with my hands, and I'm going to think about why someone might read this article. Well, we just talked about, this article talks about how to take care of the earth. So I think someone might read this article to learn how to take care of the earth and how to protect it. So now I'm ready to read the answers to see if any of those answers match what I think. Answer 1 says, learn about the earth. Well, I did learn about the earth, so that's a maybe. I'm going to go back to that one, but I need to read the rest of the answers to see if it's the best one. B says, learn about trees. I'm going to put an X on that one. The whole article is not about trees. Only a small section of the article was about trees. C says, learn about the life of Gaylord Nelson. This is similar to the trees one. Gaylord Nelson was in the article, but the article was not all about him. So I'm going to put an X on that one too. And D says, to get information on how to best take care of the earth. D is the correct answer. I did learn about the earth, but what I mostly learned about was how to take care of the earth. So I'm going to mark D. Now I'm going to go down to number 2. The author mentions Gaylord Nelson in this passage because, okay, so this question is asking me, why is the author talking about this person named Gaylord Nelson? I'm going to have to go back in the text to see if I can find his name and reread that section to jog my memory. So I'm going to go back in the passage, and I'm looking for his name, and I see his name right here. So I'm going to reread this section. Lend Earth a helping hand. People have been celebrating Earth Day since 1970. Earth Day was started by a man named Gaylord Nelson. Nelson was a United States Senator from Wisconsin. He was worried about the damage being done to the planet. So it says right here that Earth Day was started by a man named Gaylord Nelson. So I think that's probably why the author wanted to include him in this article about Earth. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to look and see if any of these questions match what I'm thinking the answer is. So A says, Nelson started Earth Day. That was exactly what I thought the answer was, but let me read the rest of the questions just to make sure. Nelson started Arbor Day. It didn't say that. Nelson was a senator. He was a senator, but that doesn't have anything to do with Earth Day, so I'm not going to put that one. Or Nelson was from Wisconsin. He also was from Wisconsin, but that doesn't have anything to do with Earth Day. So I'm going to click A, Nelson started Earth Day. Number 3, in the sentence, if you see litter, pick it up and put it in trash cans or recycling bins, the word litter can be replaced with the word or words. Okay, so this question is asking me, what does the word litter mean? What's another word I could use for the word litter? Well, they're giving me this helpful sentence to help me see if I can figure out what other word I could switch out for litter. So let me reread the sentence. If you see litter, pick it up and put it in trash cans or recycling bins. So litter is something that I put in trash cans or recycling bins. Well, I'm going to cover my answers and I'm going to think about what is something that you put in trash cans or recycling bins. Well, I know that I put trash in trash cans or recycling bins. So I'm already thinking that another word for litter could be trash, but I'm going to read the answers to see if I can find out. A says milk cartons. Milk cartons are trash, but it seems really specific. I don't think it's just talking about milk cartons. B is paper. Paper is something that we recycle, but I don't think it's just talking about paper. I think it's talking about more than that. C says trash. Trash is what I was already thinking the answer is, so I think that's my best answer so far, but let me read the last one. D, trees. That doesn't make sense at all, so I know that's not correct. So I think the answer is trash, but I'm going to double check by switching the word litter for trash in the sentence and seeing if it still makes sense. If you see trash, pick it up and put it in trash cans or recycling bins. That does make sense, so I'm going to write that, or I'm going to click C. All right, our last multiple choice question. The author includes the part called Save a Tree, Plant a Tree. Okay, so this question is asking me, why did the author write the section Save a Tree, Plant a Tree? What are they trying to get us to do? So I need to go back to that section and I'm gonna reread. Save a tree, plant a tree. Let's highlight it so we make sure we know this is the section that we're reading. Paper is made from trees. You can save a tree by not wasting paper. Use both sides. So I'm learning that paper is made from trees. I'm learning you can save a tree by not wasting paper. Celebrate National Arbor Day by planting a tree. This holiday encourages people to plant and care for trees. Okay, so National Arbor Day is a holiday that celebrates trees and tries to get people to plant trees. So let me go back to my answers. So some of the things I'm learning, maybe the reason that the author included this part is he wanted to teach us about how we can save trees by being careful we don't use too much paper, or maybe he wanted to teach us about Arbor Day. So I'm gonna read the answers and see which one is the best. A says to encourage people to save paper. That could definitely be the answer, but let me read, because remember, I'm trying to find the best answer. B says to encourage people to plant trees. That was in the section too. C says to teach people about Arbor Day. That was also in the section. So these all seem like good answers. So let me read D. All of the above. Boys and girls, this is such an important example of why we have to read all of the answers, because if we just clicked A, even though that was correct, we would get it wrong, because so were B and C. So I need to click D, all of the above, because all three of these tell us why the author included the section, Save a Tree, Plant a Tree. The last thing that I'm having to do on my ReadWorks assignment is I'm going to have to type a free response question. So this one's not multiple choice. This one's just coming from my own brain. What would happen if humans did not take good care of the earth? So I'm going to think about what in the article did they tell me about would happen if people don't take good care of the earth. Well, I know we wouldn't have a lot of trees if we're wasting paper. So I'm going to write that. If people did not take care of the earth, we would not have very many trees. Whoops. Period. I have a capital at the beginning and I have a period at the end. Another thing is that we'd probably have a lot of litter everywhere, because it also was talking about how litter is important to clean up if we're taking care of the earth. So I'm going to also write, there would also be a lot of litter on the ground. I'm going to add that I think this could be dangerous for animals, because what if animals ate the litter? Okay, so before I submit to my teacher, I'm gonna go back to the top. I'm making sure I answered all the questions, and I'm gonna reread what I wrote, and I'm gonna check to make sure I have a capital at the beginning and a period at the end. So if people did not take care of the earth, we would not have very many trees. There would also be a lot of litter on the ground. I think this would be dangerous for animals because animals could eat the litter. I think that that answer makes sense. So now I'm going to go ahead and submit my assignment. It says all questions are answered. Submit. And now I'm done.